Well, welcome to another episode of Off the Fence. Catherine, what are we doing today?
Hi. Right now?
Right now.
Or do you want me to go through my schedule? Okay. We're interviewing a dear friend of mine, Miss Anya Mueller.
Hi.
Who I say is the Oprah Winfrey of the Black Hills. I'd like her to get her own talk show with a studio audience, and I would be there.
So the Oprah Winfrey or the Barbara Walters?
Barbara Walters. Nope, that's not nice.
So who's the current leading? Like,
gosh,
who would a 20-year-old?
You know, I think like Kelly Clarkson. Well, no,
yeah,
because she's on
Doesn't
TV.
Drew Barrymore have a show too?
Drew Barrymore has a show.
Yeah.
They all wear pantsuits. Do you got some
Which
pantsuits?
I'm into that.
Okay.
Totally into that.
And they all have their own like home decor lines in Walmart
Or like Wayfair.
or
something.
Wayfair. I don't know.
You guys are talking about stuff I don't know about.
Okay.
I don't know this.
Fair.
I just think Ricky Lake when I was in like middle school was really big. Yeah.
Yes.
Not size wise popular. She had some anyway. Ricky Lake.
Ricky Lake. Yep.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
got you.
And then I liked Donahue and Geraldo when I was a kid because that's what we watched after school.
Sally Jesse Raphael. She was a thing too.
Yes,
Yep.
talk shows. They had huge microphones and they'd walk around. Sometimes they'd trip on the stairs.
Eventually, we get to Jerry Springer.
You wouldn't do that. Nope. You didn't have to bring him up. But I think
Anya, is Jerry Springer your inspiration?
I'm gonna go with no on
Okay.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
I do love me some Oprah though. I've always loved Oprah.
Okay, so we're
though,
back to
but
Oprah.
She's an icon.
I
though.
just feel like she needs we need a Black Hills talk show.
Well, you could be like my one studio member.
I would clap
audience.
so much.
Anya,
that
tell
would be
us,
cool.
people are right now, if they're watching this, they're going, I have seen her.
Yes, I get that a lot. You look familiar.
You look
Do
familiar.
people
Have we
stare
met
at you in
before?
stores and stuff?
Sometimes.
Would you tell the folks, what do you do? What's like your, I know you do lots of things.
Yeah.
But in the context of someone going, have we met? What are they meaning and what do you do?
Yeah, usually I just say, either have I interviewed you maybe, or do you watch TV?
Yeah.
I usually say that.
Nice.
The other day I had a student in my son's class who said, "You're the lady from the TV." And I'm like, "You watch TV? You're like 6, but cool. That's fun."
Way to be informed, man.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Do you keep track of how many people or how many stories you've told?
Oh boy. No, I should, and I kick myself because I totally should have done that, years ago when I started. Because I will see somebody out and I'm just like, you'd be like, "Oh, hey, like you know me and I know you, but I don't know how." It happens to me all the time because it could be from my personal life. It could be from my past.
Sure.
But is it, I interviewed you? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
Those
there's
are
no
tough.
way you could remember.
And people will, remember me because, if I did a story with them.
It's a big deal. It was
Yeah,
probably
right,
like a
yeah.
mountaintop moment for them.
I'm sure most people will do what? Like, not even most, but a person will do one story about them. You do,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how many you do,
Thousands.
even
Yeah.
annually, but
Yeah.
you've met a bazillion people. That's
Right.
probably
Yeah.
the
Sometimes I
safest
could
way.
do like 4 stories a day,
Oh my
man.
word.
So, yeah.
So, what comes to the top of your mind on some of your favorite stories you've
Oh boy.
told? Not your favorite, but like you're like, hey, I remember that one. That was fun.
Oh gosh. Well, like travel ones are fun.
Okay.
I used to do that more, back in the day, so to speak, before like kids and stuff.
Yeah.
But I got to go to the Kentucky Derby.
Ooh.
That was a ton of fun. And like insider Kentucky Derby.
Very cool.
So that was really cool. That was super fun.
I would have loved that.
You have so many
Did you
questions.
wear a
Like,
hat?
totally wore a hat.
You
Like
did?
3 hats. Yeah, because we were there like 3 days. So
Oh.
yeah, because there's stuff leading up to the Derby.
So you can't wear this. You have to wear different hats. I don't know.
David.
Yeah.
I don't know the
You
fashion
can't
for
receive
Kentucky Derby.
that. Come on now.
Different
So
color
that
scheme,
that was
probably.
one. I also went to Washington, D.C. We just kind of did some stuff down there. I got to do sort of a man on the street.
Okay.
And I thought of this game to play. Like, do you know what this is? And it was like a picture of like the Corn Palace in Mitchell.
Okay.
And they're like, is it somewhere in Russia? I'm like, no, but that's a good guess. And like Mount Rushmore, or like a jackalope. Or,
Cool.
that kind of stuff. So that was pretty fun.
I love
I'm trying to
DC.
think of what else. Oh, I got to interview actually a guy I went to college with. He's one of the Thunderbirds, or he was like whatever,
Yeah.
7 years ago. So I got to go to Las Vegas, where they like are stationed, and like do a tour and like get in the suit and do a bunch of fun stuff. So that was a good one.
Do you ever get scared? Like, are there ever scary things? Like if you have to write or try something out and you're like, I need to do this, but I don't want to?
Yes. There's been times like that. Yeah.
All I think about is the axe. When in Custer, there's the axe throwing place. And
Yeah,
I thought,
I've
bet
never-
Anya's going to have to do a story here. And that scares me.
I did do a story there, but I didn't get axes
good,
thrown at
okay.
me. So I was like, decline that one. But I've done like a couple hot air balloon stories. And not
Okay.
that that's like scary, but it's a little bit like, ooh, okay.
I'm scared of heights. I would.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one. Like monster trucks. I feel like I've done so much just crazy stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. But
In the
it's been
moment.
a cool job because you get to do all this stuff that, you know, you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I don't know. I can't even think of all of them.
Well, I think your perspective would be so interesting, just that because you meet tons of people. We don't just meet and do the normal. Hi, I'm so and so. Here's what
Right.
I do. And you're literally prying
Yeah.
for, hey, tell me about this. Why do you do this? What are you loving about it? What's your message? What's your agenda? What's your success?
Right.
And so you're really getting to know person after person, probably who crosses all spectrums of belief systems and worldviews. And you're interviewing a restaurant owner, and then you're in a hot air balloon talking about who knows what. Right?
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah.
So that's why we were interested, like in a podcast for like Off the Fence. You are in essence talking to people who are risking, they are exploring, they are doing good, they are in great need.
Yeah.
And so we kind of wanted just to pry into your life, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Learn from you.
you've accidentally probably learned things, and you've witnessed things. So, like sociology would be something I would be very interested in learning from you, in the sense of, so what are you or have you been learning about people, just in general, as you talk to again, I'll bring up like a restaurant owner, who restaurant business, not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, we talk food all the time, but also I don't know if you've interviewed probably politicians or you've been just families and all that. I'm curious that when you think of the traits that you're seeing in people who are doing something with their life, what have you seen, or what are examples of like, hey, this has been pretty inspiring to me because they were not on the fence. They're off the fence.
Yeah. They're diving into something.
Yeah. I'm curious what you've learned, what you've seen, what's been inspiring.
Oh gosh, so much has been inspiring. Yeah, I feel like I've been able just to see people in a different perspective. I think it's so easy to sort of like judge people essentially.
Sure.
You know, I think it's just an innate thing in us. You see somebody and like right away your brain says something about them.
Yeah.
You have no idea anything about them, but you see them and you're like, oh, well, they're this and that. You know, I think we just sort of all do that, and we don't like that about ourselves, I don't think. But like, for instance, you know, one time I interviewed a woman who was pregnant and did drugs.
Okay.
She didn't want to be her face on camera, but you know, the little part of me was like, oh my gosh, how could you do this? Who does that? Like, really? You know, in the back of your mind, because, you know, you're a mom and stuff. And then I interviewed her and I was like, wow, I see where she's coming from now. You know what I mean? Where like before I interviewed her, you know, I probably would have just judged her. You know what I mean? So I just think like just understanding people and where they're coming from is just so helpful with that.
Taking the time to sit and look eye to eye and hear story, like listen to the story. I think that's one of the things that I love about you so much. One of the many things is because you're so good at just sitting with people and hearing their story and giving people a voice. And I think that is important, whether at the end of it, somebody agrees with it or not, or still is processing what they think. There's some like human connection and compassion that gets dispersed.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
What have you seen what inspires people? What's got them going? Because you've got people making decisions all over the place, and that's in essence why you're interviewing them.
Yeah.
What are you like? And I don't think it's one thing. I'm just curious. Like, what has them going?
Yeah, geez. I think it just kind of depends. It's a case by case, you know, scenario. I mean, I've interviewed a foster mom who's fostered, I don't know, like over 100 kids in her time, and she was amazing. And that was when I sort of walked into And, not thinking much, like, okay, she's cool, talk to her. But like I left and I was just like, done. I mean, I was just like so touched. I was just like moved by her and like in a way that I'll never sort of be the same. You know what I mean? Like, cause I mean, what motivated her, was like love and compassion for people, at the end of the day. And she was just, that's all she wanted to do is help people. I mean, she would take in hitchhikers to her home.
Really?
And she had like 5 kids of her own. That's how much she like loved people and wanted to help people. Like whereas like maybe a business owner, they sort of want to make their mark in the community or sort of like a legacy or they grew up there and they want to like, I wanted a place like this when I grew up. So now I'm making this place for people to enjoy it. Like pour back into the community, which is really great because I've heard a lot of stories where people grow up in a small town, maybe it's Belle Fourche, and they move away for a while, see what's out there. You got to do that and you come back and they have restaurants of their own, or whatever in the community. So I feel like they want to make a mark. And I feel like other people just, want connection. They just want something more for themselves. I remember interviewing a homeless woman and she'd been in just bad history, bad relationships, abusive. And she was able to pull herself out of that. And she got her GED, got a job, got like a bike and like just got her life together. And, I was like, well, what motivates you? Like what keeps you going? And she like pulls out this photo of herself as a little girl. And she's like, because I promised this girl a better life. And I was like, I mean, like it doesn't take much to make me cry, but yeah.
Wow.
It was intense. I mean, I just feel like I've gotten to just sit with people on like such a just different perspectives, like people who've lost children, and you sit in their living room and you hear their stories and you just cry with them, but now they have like a nonprofit in their child's name and they're like helping all these other people. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Or a woman who's been trafficked, I talked with her. We're like friends now, but how she was able to turn that around and now it's like that glory's for God now and just making a difference in people's lives. It's just really cool.
So I don't think, like growing up watching TV because there wasn't even internet, right? So we're watching these. I loved the stories that the news wherever we lived would tell about what's going on in the community, and it was always this. It felt distant in the sense of like it's these people are doing these amazing things in their lives because that's why the story is being told.
Sure.
You guys don't go, hey, we just showing up. This family's playing video games today. We're just going to show you. We're just going to.
Just regular folks.
Yeah, we're just like we're gonna do nothing and watch this for 3 minutes. And,
right. Yeah.
And I was always inspired, but disconnected from that story. And so it's interesting to hear you say that so much of the good that you're telling seems to come from some tough.
Yes. Yeah.
Like there's an actual tough happens. So then these people are making choices to saying, I'm not going to let that be wasted.
Yes. Or I'm not going to let that tragedy define me. I'm going to use it for good. And just the strength of those people and their bravery just astounds me all the time. Yeah.
It's interesting because, I think I would like for today to be a good day, and I don't want it to be a bad day. If it becomes a bad day, we lament the bad day, right? That's how life works.
That's how we want it.
But it's interesting that one of the commonalities would be like folks kind of coming out of stuff, and doing something with it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of successful people, just that you see, in media and whatever, they went through super hard times. So many of them did, and it's just like they just wanted to overcome that in a way, I think.
Okay.
Which is inspiring and helpful for people too, because what I love about the work that you do is that I learned about a new restaurant somewhere.
Yes.
Where were you that it looked so good? It was like a bagel breakfast.
Oh, just the other day?
Where was that?
In Whitewood.
No way.
Yes, I know. It's called Caverna.
I drive by there. And
you
never
should
stop.
go sometime.
So, but you learn about that kind of stuff, like, wow, that looks really good, and I'd love to support a local business. But then you're hearing stories that help people connect and go, I want to be an overcomer, or I want to support this nonprofit and help, them continue to tell the story of loss and overcoming. But that's what I love, is that there's such a depth of connection too, and even where others can be inspired to say, I can do something with any of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just interesting to know, like because, when you go buy a business, they sell coffee. Cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't know anything about them. And then it's just, my job is just fun because I walk in and I never know what's going to happen. I don't know who these people are. I can think in my mind sort of how they might be. And then I'm always probably 90% of the time that did not go how I thought. Or I did not think that they would be like that, And so it's really interesting. You're like, you do that? Okay. And you're okay. You just get to learn people's motives, sort of people's backgrounds and history. And it's just so much more interesting. And then when you go to that business, then you sort of know them.
Yes.
Now I feel like, because that's kind of, I feel like my goal is people want to know who you are. People want to know your background and just where you're coming from.
Yes.
Who are you? If I'm supporting your business, what else am I supporting? Sort of. So that's been really interesting too.
Have your interviews over time affected what you do with your life?
Who?
I don't know, not necessarily. I want to experience. You mentioned the
foster mom,
parent.
yes.
How that affected you?
Yeah. Yeah. So she told this story of, one of the foster kids she had in her home once. She would tell her, you're so special and God made you special and God loves you and I love you. And then she ended up seeing that girl grown up had a kid of her own and stopped her in the grocery store. And she's like, I just want to say, you were so impactful to me. And now I tell my daughter that every day that God loves her. And God. And so I tell my kids that now every day too. Just stuff like that, I think. But she was just such a special lady. She always gets me tears. Sorry.
No,
I
think it's awesome. Were you always gifted, or have you had to learn a skill set to actually sit down with someone you don't know?
Yeah.
And begin to
dive in.
Go.
Yeah, right. I would say probably yes. I remember when I was really little, I was super shy. My mom always tells a story of me in kindergarten, and that's what the teacher wrote. She's painfully shy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I grew up I was sort of naturally a shy person. Don't look at me. Don't talk to me. I'm just going to sit here in the back of the room. Be cool. And then, I don't know. I mean, then I felt like I was always more comfortable with friends and family, and I'd be more of hey, look at me. I'm doing this or whatever. But I would say I just feel comfortable with people. I don't know. I want to make them feel comfortable. And sometimes I'll do the interview and they'll say, it wasn't so bad. Or you made me feel comfortable.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's just been doing it so many years, or maybe that's just how I am. I don't know. But I always think I could be better. Why didn't I ask this? Or you always leave an interview saying that.
Sure.
We should have talked about this. Why did I say that? I feel like that's all of us though, really.
Oh yeah.
But anyway.
Well, I think we all have personality, but then a lot of times our jobs or our experiences begin to shape that even more to where you might be introverted, but your job requires you to have to walk up to someone and initiate conversation and over and over. And so then you even though you got a personality, you adapt, you begin to just change a little bit. Maybe the word's mature in the sense of sometimes we lock into our personality and we're like, this is who I am. This is what I feel comfortable doing.
Yeah.
But that's why I was interested, just meeting strangers is what you do.
Yeah. I know.
Over and over and over.
I know.
Over,
it's just so bizarre. And I just think of all the times where it was just me and a camera and I just show up to somebody's house. It's like rural Hot Springs, and I'm like, I don't know who this dude is. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm just going for it, I guess. And you just never know who's going to open that door. You don't know their personality. Some people are just kind of cold.
Sure.
And then you just kind of have to try to warm them up and sort of pry stuff out because they're nervous or they just don't want to be on TV or
Yeah, camera. I mean, just
it's scary.
Can lock people down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's my job is try to helping them be comfortable and really get what they want and I want out of it, which is your story.
Yes.
So.
But in what takes often years to develop the rapport in the relationship, you have 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
That's a gift too, though. And I think, though, again, that comes, though, from people knowing you and trusting you because of the way that you've held other people's stories and told other people's stories. I think that surely brings some assistance to all of that anyway, because people know you and trust you.
Yeah, and that's like a big part of, what I feel responsible for is like, am I telling this person's true story? Is it, but I mean, the interviews I do now, we don't do a lot of cut and paste of, like, we're not like mincing words,
Gotcha.
Like, oh, you're twisting what I said. I just, I want their story. I want it to be representative of who they are. And so I'm really trying to be conscious of that.
Yes.
Like underline, like, what are they telling me? What's sort of the theme I just want to represent them properly.
Yes.
That's part of the challenge too sometimes.
It makes me like, I just think like the leadership principle, in this is like how, like, so that's your job is to go meet people, arrange stuff and go do that.
Right.
But like really just as a person, we should do that more. Like, I don't know where what if we walked up to people, I know it seems awkward and not like an assignment,
right?
But like got to know people more, like went with the agenda. So you do not do a story with the agenda of you pretty much sharing your day.
Right.
You're going to extract for a benefit for them and everything.
Yeah.
Everything. But I think about like, if you wanted, most people want to do something with their lives, want to have purpose and hope and meaning, as you were talking about, like, I want to leave a legacy. Sometimes I think it might be like, do better at just going to meet with people and talk with them.
Yeah, just connecting, being available for people, essentially.
Yes. Being present.
Yeah.
Is so big. But I think what I love, though, about the work that you do is you're helping people who maybe aren't even in that place yet to say, I want to go know people in this community. You're making it so easy to go, I want to go to Whitewood and try that restaurant.
Yes.
But it's this awareness or reminder that we live in an incredible place with really incredible people doing good things.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love is it's making accessible something that maybe people wouldn't have paid attention to or known.
Yeah, and I get that a lot. People say, I watch your show and, I've lived here X amount of years. I didn't know that place existed, but now I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, that's great. Then I did my job. That's what I wanted to do.
Oh, and I think there's something innate in storytelling where it makes us think about our own stories, but it makes us, at least me, it motivates me to be intentional about learning about others.
Other people. Yeah. Like if I hadn't had this job, I don't know, I wouldn't have known so many people and their stories. I mean, that would have been a shame.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have been like my initial, like, oh, I'm just going to meet random people every day, all day and tell their stories, but I'm glad that happened that way, because over the years, like I'll look on my YouTube page or something and be like, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that guy. Yeah. I totally should have wrote a book, but now my memories are like, have squandered now. I feel like,
oh no, you get a good day out at the lake or something at a picnic table and just start
just start writing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think there's something really special about the storytellers though, who are doing the work of finding it out, inspiring, but again, even letting people know that they're heard and seen. I think that's important. Yeah. Especially in a community like ours or a region like ours that doesn't actually feel all that big. I know it is, but it's just connecting in a really powerful way, and I love it. I'm so grateful for it.
I'm just curious. So with all the people that you meet, I would imagine you begin to build quite the list or maybe see some commonalities of need, like where you're like, if I had asked you, based on the people you've met and interviewed, what would you see are like positives and negatives in society right now, where you would say, there's a huge need based on, you can see almost commonalities. Can you see like people seem to need this or people seem to lack this, or maybe it's a positive in the sense of like, I just keep seeing this no matter who they are or where they come from. There's these positive things about people. I'm just curious if there's commonalities.
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to, being connected, being understood. I think people want to do the right thing and they want to help people. I just think sometimes, our backgrounds or the way we were raised hold us back. Like, well, I was always told, this thing. and then sort of turning your heart and being like, oh, just having more grace for people.
Okay.
You know, I think is a thing. But I think at the end of the day, at least people in this region, they have a heart for people. They truly want to help people. You know. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not. I'm trying to think of.
No, I definitely see in our region.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it even as a church. Like, people are ready and willing to help, but we don't like press into our other people's lives uninvited.
Right.
So there's I think there's a whole bunch of people just almost on the edge, going, "I'll do what's needed. Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
Who needs help? Who needs support?"
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, in a storm, you see it boom real quick. You see people just without anybody even organizing us. We just all go out and start helping. But there needs to be this instigator, this almost like spark that does it. So no, that makes sense. Huh? What's something weird that's happened?
Weird?
Are you willing to share that, like,
oh gosh,
in a recorded fashion, or awkward, or going, "I'm glad this day's over," or "I'm glad."
Gosh, I can't think of anything.
I know I'm putting you on the spot for that one.
I once did an interview years ago there was a flood in Pierre.
Okay.
And I did like an interview because we were going and sending help. And I got done with the interview and realized I had something in my teeth the whole time.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's every time. One time,
that was terrible.
I anchored one night and I had like an almond just straight up, and I was like on the news.
That's amazing.
Who did it? Why didn't you tell me this? Yeah,
we always talk like a good friend, a loving person tells somebody when they have something going on.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I got done and went, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've done enough live TV where I've said enough, you know, things I regret. I guess I say, I don't even know.
That would be so hard. I can't even imagine.
There's just so much. I mean, I was a morning show reporter, so I did a live shot every morning. Okay. And that was tough because like telling people to meet you at like 5 a.m. somewhere, you know, So there's a lot of room for error in live
ad-libbing probably.
So, ad-libbing. You say I've said people's names wrong, and then they're like, "No, it's Sally," and I'm like,
"Oh, that's what I meant."
It was live TV, you know. I mean, like those are the worst. I'm the worst at that though, because I can't remember like the title and the name and the business. I mean, there's just like a lot for me to remember for some reason. I don't know.
Do you get any notes when you're out on the field? Like, no, you just go for it.
Ad lib.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a different role, like reading prompter.
Sure.
And then like in the field ad lib. It's totally different. It's like I can only do one or the other. I can't do both. It's hard to like live in the middle of it. But
I joke with our guys here that I would like a teleprompter. I'd like somebody just telling me what to say all the time.
All the time. I know.
Just to help me minimize my awkwardness level.
Yeah.
I enjoy the nervous energy of watching a reporter on site somewhere.
Oh gosh, I hate it. It makes me so cringy.
I love watching it going, what's going to happen?
Oh no, I hate it because I've been in their spot and I can feel their heart. I'm just like, I could feel like
or if somebody comes up behind them and is like being goofy or something.
Gosh.
Or I
mean, that's happened before too. That'll happen on live shot. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can't really.
I have the mom complex where they're not my child, but I feel like they are. So I just want them to win. I want it to go well.
Yeah.
This probably isn't comforting to you, but I used to there was literally a monthly news blooper reel on YouTube. That gets there's new ones, and I would just watch them because I love the nervous energy about it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
When the anchors are upset with each other and you can tell and they're just being really passive aggressive.
Yeah.
You used to send those to me. It always stresses me out.
No, those are funny. I mean, those are like a different beast, I feel like. Like at our, news party every year, we play the blooper tape, all the bloopers from the year. And that's always like the biggest hit, I don't know. There's probably been so many awkward moments over the last, because I've technically been in this business like 13 years. So that's a lot of room for awkwardness. And, I mean, some things are you like tread more lightly. You don't really know how to approach something.
Yeah.
That's hard to talk about too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, I have to deal with oh gosh, how do you bring up a tender thing or, a sensitive
So what have you
thing?
learned? What have you learned about that? Do you have like tactic.
You kind of, I mean, you just have to sort of word it in a certain way.
Okay.
I feel like, and your delivery too, a little bit, how you ask them. But yeah, it's definitely can be a touchy subject sometimes.
I feel like I would just close my eyes and ask a question. I'd go, let's just.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you kind of like, you just have to ask it for the story because it's a part of the story.
Yeah.
But you're just like, I don't want to make them talk about that.
Sure.
I don't want to ask that. But it's like, you have to because it's your job, So I had some tough times like that too. But
it sounds a lot too, though, like interpersonal 101 for everyday life. It's just on camera with a microphone too. You know, like that helps, I think, ease people. Maybe they can just learn from watching how you do it and then go, oh, I have a hard conversation tomorrow with no camera or microphone, but maybe I can do it a little better.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like some people, I can, when you're, like you said, you're on that level with people for like maybe it's an hour. But some people I just like connect with. And like it's just like an instant, now we're best friends. You want to do karate in the garage, But like, some people are just like that. And then I'm like friends with them after that. Because like you just kind of get this, like you go so like deep so fast, so to speak. And you're just like, well, and we're maybe like a good friend I've had for years. Maybe we haven't even had a deep conversation like that.
Yeah.
But this person, like we're forced to do this now, and it's like, I'm ready, let's do it. And so then it's like, hey, we're friends now, I guess. Yeah. So
and it's usually, cool. I would imagine, one of the things, whatever you're interviewing about is one of the things they care about most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's near the center of what is important.
Yeah, because what else would I be doing this to?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been kind of interesting. Like people who I would never think I would be friends with. I remember interviewing this man once. He was, I don't know, maybe like 90, late 80s. And you're kind of, he's like a war vet and you're going to it. Okay, I know how this is going to kind of go down, just whatever. And you do the interview. And like, he was just like the sweetest man. I saw him. He was like, this guy's my grandpa. Like, he's just my grandpa now. And we ended up doing a couple of the stories. And I just like loved him. He was just like, I just wanted to hug him every time. And I remember, this was a really impactful story for me. We went out to the National Cemetery and we were kind of walking through the grave sites. And he was like, well, that guy, I used to hunt with that guy.
Oh, wow.
And that guy, because he was older. So a lot of his friends had passed away and stuff. And he had lost a daughter, which I didn't know about till later. Because again, he didn't like let that tragedy define him, But I remember walking through and at the end I was like, I just got to ask you this question, like, what's your advice just for a younger generation? Sort of like, what do you, something you've gathered throughout all these years? And he said like loyalty. He's like, your friends and your family, they count on you to be loyal to them and be good to them. And he just kind of cried. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like crying like a baby. I was like, okay, I guess we're wrapping this now.
Nice.
But like after that, I just felt like this connection with him. And it's just like, I can't explain it. There was nothing in common or, you know what I mean? And then he ended up getting really sick and I visited him in hospice. And I cried again like a baby, I was just like, this is the last time I'm going to see you. And so, I've had a lot of those moments too.
Yeah.
You've had because you've got this person who's, whatever you're talking about is pretty intimate to them.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's, when you're willing to go there, you're all of a sudden opened up to a potential relationship, a friendship, like some sort of a bond that I think.
A bond,
That is, I don't know. It's hard to. I don't know. I don't have words to describe it. We're bonded. That's
right.
We're connected.
Even if it's funny and awkward too, though. Like even if you're interviewing, I don't know, like something funny. But
well, we talk about so during COVID, and we have like a directional team and staff and all that going. And then now some of them have moved on. They've gone different places, but there's like this bond.
Yes.
Because of the stuff that you experienced together.
You're in the trenches together.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine you are in the midst of like some pretty weighty stories, people opening up about their lives. I would, if I were you, I would end up being bonded to a long list of people.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. Yeah, and then sometimes, like you said, it's like the thrill things, like the hot air balloon, or whatever it is, and that kind of bonds you too in a way because you're doing something like risky, or I don't know, So there's
just having fun together. Like some of your stories, they're just so fun.
Oh,
and that's good too.
Oh yeah, And that, I've had such an array of like, I can do silly things, do food, but we can like get serious, or, I've been able to like do the whole spectrum of things, Yeah, when I look back, I'm like, my friend Lewis and I, we did a bunch of just goofy stuff. Like, oh my gosh, all the things, curling and I don't know, like water balloon fights and like pie the face fight. I don't know. We just did a bunch of weird stuff, but like people like it. So.
Well, I love it too because it's fun and funny and everybody's learning. But then I feel like we get to know you guys better too, which I just love. It endears. Yeah. It endears you to the people that are depending on you to tell stories and share and get information out and
represent people. Because like I want to be like the same person on air that I am like at Walmart or, whatever. Like I don't want to be like, oh, I'm like hoity-toity and I talk perfect.
Don't look at me in the eyes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not that person. And there is a lot of, there's a lot of weight to be on like TV as far as like, oh, you just think your hair had to be a certain way, like your makeup had to be a certain way. And it does put a lot of pressure on you to like look a certain way, But when you're in the field more like me now, it's more like, okay, it's a little more casual. But I feel like there is that, like, people say, oh, you're shorter in person. Or, yeah, I'm only 5'2" in real life.
Thank you.
Sometimes you're like, yeah, like, thank you, question mark, kind of. And sometimes people just look at you and like, they're thinking something in your mind, but you're like, you just keep it to yourself. It's fine. It's fine. But so there's kind of that too, because you don't know when you meet people in real life what they're going to think of you either. I don't know.
But they know, but you're known, even though you don't know them.
Yeah.
You're known, and that's,
Because, when people looking at you, you're like, they probably seen the show or something,
That's good accountability, though.
Well,
True.
That's
true.
Here, let me rattle off. I want to close this up, but I want to rattle off some questions. I don't know that any of them are connected.
Oh gosh.
What have you learned about being more known than you've ever been before in your life? So you are known by, because you don't know this, thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. You're known by them, but they know little about you. So that, I think, creates a little interesting world for you. You're the most known and the least known that you've ever been before. The more that you keep on telling stories. It's just how that works.
Yeah.
Have you learned anything about that where you are recognized or looked at? What happens inside of you that you're like, here's what I've learned about that, about fame? Is that the word? Like, or notoriety or recognizability, if that's a word.
It's a new one.
I just made
Good
it up.
job.
What have you learned about that?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like as like a younger person, you think like, oh, I'm getting TV and like you get famous and be like the next Kelly Ripa, or like how cool would that be? Like I think, that was not like an aspiration, but sort of like you thought, then I'll like not have everything. But I think that's how some people are like real celebrities, we're just like local celebrities, which I don't even like saying that. I think it's weird. But, like, oh, I'll hit the fame and then everything will be perfect and everything will be good. I'll be known and whatever. But you know how that works out for celebrities, they ended up doing bad behaviors and stuff like that. So I think, I don't know, it is a weird feeling to go around thinking that like people know me, but I don't want to make it feel like I'm like boastful about it.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Because it's almost like I'd rather not in a way. Because then you almost are giving up a little piece of yourself.
Yes.
Or you're like, like I can't just go buy something weird at Walmart and nobody notice me. Like somebody's going to notice me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you sort of give that up a little, but it's for, I think, sort of like the greater good. Because when you're in TV, you're kind of almost like, I've been told, like a public servant, so to speak, because like you're doing this like for the people, sort of like not in like a weird political way. Yeah. But so like, you definitely sort of give up a little piece of that. But I think it's cool though. It's kind of special.
So that's what so you can go different directions with that.
Yeah.
Like I can be negative because this isn't you. You could over leverage that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you don't. You seem to have what we would just call a typical good head on your shoulders, and so internally, it sounds like you're not craving the fame, the identify me, see me, kind of, but I think that's a temptation.
It is.
That at some point you have to tackle, or it tackles you.
You do, because at some point you have to like check the ego. Like, you know, yes, I am like a TV personality. I'm like a mom and this and that. But at the end of the day, you know, you got to think of like, I'm just a child of God.
Yep.
And that's, you know, it's like you need to go back to that every time, or else you're gonna push this way more and like get, you know, your ego is gonna have to check. And I've seen people like that in the industry, you know, and it's like you kind of know who does that, who doesn't. So
that's what I figured. So you've had to make sure your identity is in the right place.
Yes.
And it's easy when someone knows you to take on the identity that they see you as.
Yes.
To say, oh, okay, that is who I am.
Right.
Okay.
And that is challenging. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but it's something you have to like sort of constantly go back, you know, refigure out sort of.
For sure.
Random. Here's another one. Okay. Let's pretend I'm starting a restaurant. I'm not starting a restaurant.
Okay.
What advice would you give me as I'm starting a restaurant? What do I need to know?
Oh boy. I feel like she's going to
Told you it was going to be random.
Make whatever she had the other day. Because that looked so good.
Give me some restaurant advice.
Restaurant advice, boy. I don't know. Gosh. Invest in some advertising.
Okay, there you go.
Do a news story.
Perfect.
I mean, really, it's about getting the word out about that's what the most people say. Like, I'm glad you're doing this piece with me because like nobody knows, or it's just mostly getting people there. And then once they have your product, you know, then they'll keep coming back because the product speaks for itself. But it's sort of getting the butts in the seats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love it.
I don't know.
Another question. We'll end with this one.
Okay.
So you have developed, whether they were natural to you, interpersonal skills. You have a skill set probably better than the average individual.
I don't know about that, but
so a guy like me, I need Katy to help me with small talk. I mean, small talk for me. I have to read articles on how to do small talk. Right?
How to stay engaged with shallow conversations.
Yeah, like
But for me, that's the front room that gets me into like the living room and the dining room.
For me, I'm like, Anya,
Right.
so what is the hardest thing in your life right now? I'm not asking you that right now.
Yeah.
That's where I'd rather have a conversation. Like let's go.
Dive right in.
Yeah.
Like and I'll tell you mine and we'll just so you've learned some interpersonal skills because you're going to talk to people who might think they want to talk, but you find out they don't actually want to talk.
Oh yeah.
And then you got some people who want to talk, but about nothing. for
in circles. Yeah.
So I'm curious, for a culture nowadays, is like not everyone is learning things they ought to learn. What's some interpersonal, conversational tips you would have about how to just talk to someone? Like, like you've probably have learned it, whether you know it or not. Whether I know some of it might even be what you would say is innate now in you, but it's not. I think you've learned some things.
Yeah, I suppose.
What works for you on starting conversations?
Oh gosh. I mean, small talk can be rough and just kind of pencil in the eye. But because I'm like you, I'd rather just like, let's deep dive now. Let's just skip all this fluff stuff. But the fluff gets you kind of in. I mean, it's like, talk about the weather. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, that's easy. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like you're going to know, like for me, like I have this mug with a corgi on it. Oh, you have a dog?
Yep.
Or like, you know, just sort of like, oh, you have kids? How old are they? Where do they go? What are they into? Because my kid's into this. So just finding like just a tiny commonality. You know, maybe it, you know, it's not much, but that, and let them talk about their passion because they're passionate about something. You just kind of, you got to find it in a way. You know, I feel like that could get people talking, small talk. I mean, you really talk about a thing. Oh, did you see that there's like a new restaurant going up? Or like what's new in the community. Obviously not politics or anything like that, but you know, something on the lighter side of life. Or have you been this trail lately? Or I don't know, just like things in the community that could tie you together. Or, I don't know if that's helpful. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking.
I love that though, the commonalities and the common threads. And then just asking questions without being like, what's your address? And what is your,
just like building off of that.
What does your schedule look like? You know, what is that, you know? Don't take it too far.
And I feel like I have to divulge more about myself to learn more about them too, because then they see, oh, you're being sort of like honest and a little vulnerable. So now I can be now.
Yes.
You know, and I'll say things that maybe I don't want to talk about all the time, or you know, it's just
But
so we're
that's
on.
right there. That's whether that's innate or you've learned it is you're wanting someone else to be vulnerable, so that it's not free in essence.
Right. Yeah.
It's like okay, if I want this to be the best story that accurately says what needs to be said, you're gonna have to return some vulnerability.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's I think nowadays that might be a little difficult to do. That's risky.
It is.
Anytime you're anytime you're willing to be vulnerable at the sake of another person, that's actually the definition of trust.
Yeah.
Is like I'm gonna risk a little bit with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you might mishandle this.
Right. That's probably I have that to a fault, maybe. You know, we're instantly like, okay, let's just get vulnerable now, and we'll just trust each other right away.
Yes.
That's but we usually are one or the other.
Yeah.
So
true.
Because I don't do small talk, so I have to know. I'm learning to do small talk. I shouldn't say I don't do small talk. That's not fair.
Because for some people, that's all they can do. Whatever, there's something going on in their lives that a lot of people that I work with, we can't go anywhere until we circle that.
Yeah, my brain just wants like, let's fix the world's problems right now. I know we just met, but let's do it.
Yeah. I get it.
No, so when I'm in a group and I need to get small talk going, I'll typically have, which is funny you bring this up, like, all right, the person next to you, you need to find out 3 things you guys have in common.
Ooh,
and every time, what's shocking is every time they find 3 things.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think, you're like, I don't know who this, I don't even know their name.
Where do I start?
Right.
Yeah.
Where do I?
Yeah.
So it forces you to be like, well, okay. Do you have pets?
Yeah.
But what I think this is such a beneficial conversation to have, to where some of us are just on the fence about we're lonely, disconnected, we're not living our hope, we're not living our purpose, and it literally could be like walking across the room and being like, hey, and starting the small talk.
Yeah.
That leads to some vulnerability, that leads to a really important, pivotal conversation.
Yeah. And again, being available for people.
For sure. Yeah.
Like your coworker, maybe you have nothing in common with them, but like you can say like, how was your day? No, like for real. Like, what did you do?
Yes.
You know, and just start diving deep with people and being available for people too. You know?
Love it.
Or going to a restaurant that Anya has talked about and meeting new friends there, and then having a place to go all the time.
Yay.
That's why I actually love going to new places, because that's an easy way for a non-small talk guy to say, hey, this is my first time here. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
What do you recommend? And it's an easy way to have conversations. But so this is life lessons from a reporter.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting us dig in to your.
Hopefully it was helpful. Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're amazing. Awesome. And I'm so grateful for you. I just all around good person. And what I love about you too is you're the same in every scenario and situation. Like you're just so steady and you're so committed to caring for people. And we can all learn a lot about that, because I think that's where it starts is just being willing to care for people.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hopefully this episode's been helpful.
That was adorable.
All right. Till next time you watch or listen. We love you very much.